When I encountered the car accident, my wife calmly accepted the doctor's critical condition notice, signed her name, and then intimately took the arm of her secretary, hurriedly leaving. Drifting in the air, I felt no sadness whatsoever. From school uniforms to wedding dresses, living together for over a decade, we had long become weary of each other. I had transitioned from initial pain and incomprehension to gradual calm and acceptance. 3 days later, at my funeral, watching my parents leaning against my tombstone, sobbing uncontrollably, my heart ached. My mother saw my wife rushing over and, devoid of her usual kindness, slapped Bai Ningbing hard across the face. "Get out. We don't need your crocodile tears. Jiang, he doesn't want to see you now." Bai Ningbing silently lowered her head, standing there without saying a word. After the funeral, my parents supported each other as they left. When passing by Bai Ningbing, my father wanted to say something, but looking at the daughter-in-law he had once been extremely pleased with, he ultimately just sighed and said nothing. Only Bai Ningbing remained in front of the tombstone. I was a bit curious. What was she doing here? Shouldn't she be celebrating joyfully with her secretary, Gu Chung? Bai Ningbing knelt before my tombstone, gently stroking the photo on it, murmuring, "Jiang, if we could do it all over again, would you still choose to be with me?" I looked at her with ridicule, just about to speak, when a tremendous suction pulled my soul into the darkness. Opening my eyes again, I shielded my eyes from the blinding sunlight, looking at the students sitting neatly around me. My brain short-circuited for a moment. What was going on? Holy crap! Hadn't I been reborn? Looking at Bai Ningbing sitting next to me, intently listening to the teacher's lecture, sunlight illuminating her fair face, I could even see fine downy hairs. It had to be said, Bai Ningbing truly deserved her title as the school beauty. She was this beautiful even in high school. I looked at the students around me, wondering what grade in high school it was, when a stern voice interrupted my thoughts. "Jiang Yi, what are you craning your neck around looking at? Are you cosplaying a giraffe? Can't you find your favorite leaves to eat? Get to the back and stand there." Damn it, I was certain I had been reborn back to the first year of high school. Who else but old Wang would have such a cutting tongue? I stood up and walked to the last row of the classroom. There was only one desk in the last row, next to the trash can. Fang Mo was sitting in that seat. If there was anyone from my brief previous life that I couldn't forget, someone I felt guilty about even in death, it was Fang Mo. Fang Mo's family situation was miserable. Her parents were both gambling addicts, and no one cared for her. On the 28th day of the 12th lunar month in her junior high year, her father, having lost money gambling, demanded money from her mother and discovered that her mother was not only having an affair, but was giving all the money to her lover. In a rage, her father killed her mother and ran away. Fang Mo didn't discover her mother's death until she came home from school. On the first day of the Lunar New Year, the police notified her that her father had also been caught and sentenced to life imprisonment. While other families celebrated the New Year joyfully, Fang Mo became an orphan who wasn't quite an orphan. Despite this, Fang Mo didn't give up. She was admitted to our key provincial high school with the highest score in the county. This was what I had learned after Fang Mo's death, when I couldn't get over the hurdle in my heart and went to her original residence in Guanyin Town to investigate. Seeing me come over, Fang Mo nervously moved her stool to the side. She lowered her head, not daring to look at me. I gritted my teeth, holding back tears as I stood beside Fang Mo. Memories of my past life flooded my brain. On the day Fang Mo registered for school in my past life, she wore a worn-out white t-shirt, faded gray cloth pants, and a pair of cloth shoes I'd never seen before. She looked every bit the part of a country girl. She had short hair that barely covered her eyes, walked with her head down, and her back hunched. After registration, during roll call back in the classroom, I happened to be standing next to her. Old Wang, our homeroom teacher, slapped Fang Mo on the back. "Stand up straight. Don't embarrass our class by looking so listless." Fang Mo straightened up, and I was stunned. I had never seen a girl so well-developed. I whistled lewdly, pointing at Fang Mo's chest and laughing. I was a delinquent in middle school. My dad bribed the high school to let me in, and most of my classmates were from the same middle school, so they all follow my lead. Seeing my exaggerated reaction, my classmates were drawn over, and everyone crowded around, under the gaze of the crowd. Fang Mo lowered her head even further, and her back hunched again. From that day on, I started calling Fang Mo big boobs and led the whole class in bullying her. The boys would call her up to wipe the blackboard after class, just to watch her sway suggestively. The girls would make her run errands during breaks, buying them snacks. Fang Mo never resisted, silently enduring it all. It's fair to say that Fang Mo spent her 3 years of high school under my bullying. Until the day before the college entrance exam, Fang Mo jumped from the roof of our school building. I heard that she had been groped by a middle-aged male teacher after school. She didn't know who to turn to. After she reported it to the police, the school claimed she had mental problems and refused to take action. With nowhere left to turn, Fang Mo chose to end her life. At the time, I didn't think much of it. After all, I didn't know her well. But as I got older, my guilt grew stronger. I hated my high school self. I was a jerk. I wanted to make amends. I went to Guanyin Town and heard about Fang Mo's tragic story. The people of Guanyin Town often said that Fang Mo was the pride of the town, the first child to get out of Guanyin Town and go to college. But such a promising child was killed by me. At this point in my recollection, I slapped myself hard twice. My classmates were startled by the loud sound and stared dumbfounded at my obviously swelling face. Old Wang pointed at me and scolded, "Jiang Yi, what's wrong with you? If you haven't taken your meds, have your mom bring you some." "Jiang Yi, what's wrong with you? If you haven't taken your meds, have your mom bring you some." I glared at Old Wang. Didn't he only care about good students? Why did he never care about Fang Mo, even though she was first in the class? Was it just because Fang Mo didn't have any family? But I had no right to resent him. I was the one who drove Fang Mo to her death. I lowered my head. Old Wang continued his lesson. While I was lost in thought, a hand holding an old handkerchief trembled as it reached out to me. "Wipe it," a timid voice whispered. "Your mouth is bleeding." "Wipe it," a timid voice whispered. "Your mouth is bleeding." It was Fang Mo's voice. I couldn't hold back anymore. I took the handkerchief and ran out of the classroom, crying. Why did you repay evil with kindness? Why didn't you take revenge on me? You could have even killed me. I sat on the playground until the end of class. After composing myself, I returned to the classroom and went straight to Fang Mo. I squatted down and asked her in the gentlest voice I could manage, "Fang Mo, can I move next to you and sit with you?" Fang Mo's face turned white with fright. She waved her hands quickly, too afraid to speak. I knew she didn't dare refuse me, but she truly didn't want to sit with me. I had come on too strong. I reassured her, "It's okay. I was just asking. You can say no if you don't want to. It's okay. I was just asking. You can say no if you don't want to." Fang Mo was silent for a long time before whispering, "I'm fine sitting by myself." I didn't press the issue. I stood up and returned to my seat. Bai Ningbing looked at me in surprise. "Why are you talking to Fang Mo? Aren't you afraid the other students will laugh at you?" I turned around and glared at her. "What does it have to do with you what I say to Fang Mo? Mind your own business." My outburst brought tears to Bai Ningbing's eyes. She muttered "crazy" and turned away. To be honest, I didn't hate Bai Ningbing. Her betrayal, her coldness, all of that belonged to my past life. We wouldn't have anything to do with each other in this life. Just then, some classmates started urging Fang Mo to wipe the blackboard. Fang Mo lowered her head and walked towards the blackboard, hunching her shoulders. I stood up, rushed to the podium, grabbed the eraser, and wiped the blackboard clean. After cleaning the blackboard, I looked at the stunned Fang Mo and the dumbfounded classmates and said loudly, "I am here to apologize for the harm I caused Fang Mo by bullying her. Whether she forgives me or not, I must apologize for what I did." I bowed deeply to Fang Mo. Straightening up, I continued, "From now on, if the blackboard needs wiping and those on duty don't want to do it, you can call me. If the girls need someone to run errands during breaks, you can call me too. Don't bother Fang Mo anymore." I walked off the podium. Fang Mo didn't look at me, just silently returned to her seat. I ignored the whispers of my classmates. I hoped that after my declaration today, no one would bully Fang Mo again. After class, I started flipping through the brand new textbook. In my past life, I was a terrible student. My dad hired tutors for me and by Ningbing for a long time, and I only managed to get into a second-rate university in the end. This life, I want to keep up with Fang Mo's pace. To be honest, I have no confidence at all. Thinking about it, I wore a bitter smile. As a reborn person, I'm really useless, going to high school twice, and still not confident I can understand it. During class, Ningbing tossed me a note, then turned her head away haughtily. I opened it, and it said, "If you treat me to Feng Ji's spicy boiled fish for lunch, I'll forgive you." I chuckled in anger and replied on the note, "Go eat shit." Then I tossed the note back to her. "You want me to give you an excuse to forgive me? You better not forgive me for life, and don't talk to me. I'll thank your ancestors 8 generations over." Ningbing opened the note with some delight, but her face turned red with anger when she saw the content. She glared at me furiously. I pretended not to see it, took my math book, and desperately tried to recall what was on the college entrance exam math test in my past life, but I couldn't remember a single question. I should have died the day after the college entrance exam. That way, I could have remembered the test questions and wouldn't have had to be entangled with by Ningbing for 10 years. Since there's no shortcut, I can only study. I started listening attentively, but I kept turning back to look at Fang Mo as if there was only one thing to do after being reborn: make up for my mistakes and regrets. As for making money or starting a business, that has nothing to do with me. I have my dad, the old tool. Thinking about it, my dad is pretty miserable being exploited by me for 2 lifetimes. At lunchtime, the gang of followers in my class surrounded me. My best friend, Guahao, asked me, "Easy bro, what's going on? Are you letting the big boob girl off the hook? Where are we going to find fun now?" I kicked Guahao. "Rat, I'm warning you, anyone who dares to bully Fang Mo again, I'll kill him. You hear? Your easy bro is going to turn over a new leaf. I'm going to study hard." The buddies looked at me with horrified eyes. Guahao said with disbelief, "Easy bro, have you been possessed?" "Study what?" "We've been in the same class since junior high, and you've been welded to the bottom of the list." I was embarrassed. Thinking about how I managed to get into a second-rate university in my past life really was a miracle. I was a little ashamed and angry. "I'm not kidding. I'm not going to mess around with you guys anymore. I'm going to study." The buddies scoffed at me. Like me, they all got into this school by paying money. Studying seems like a very embarrassing thing for us little hooligans. I ignored them and went to the cafeteria by myself. Usually, I would eat with Ningbing at noon, but she was crying from anger today, so she definitely wouldn't come looking for me. I was happy to have some peace and quiet. When I got to the cafeteria, I saw Guahao's group surrounding Fang Mo. I watched Fang Mo stuffing steamed buns into his mouth with free soup. Fang Mo had 4 large steamed buns on his plate. Guahao and the others laughed and shouted, "Big boob girl, stuff it in. Stuff it in until you're a sow that nobody loves." I completely exploded. I rushed over and started punching and kicking Guahao's group. Was I said a fart, huh? Didn't I say, "Anyone who dares to bully Fang Mo again, I'll kill him"? Guahao got angry for being beaten and pointed at me. "Jiang Yi, what the hell is wrong with you? You used to be the one who bullied Fang Mo the most. Now you're pretending to be a good person. We've been best friends for 3 years, and you're attacking me with everything you've got. You're really something." I was rendered speechless by his retort. Fang Mo stopped talking, lowered her head, and clenched her hands into fists, as if she was the one who had done something wrong. I walked over and said softly to her, "Eat. Fang Mo, no one will bully you anymore." Fang Mo still kept her head down, neither eating nor moving. I sighed, wanting to melt the ice between me and Fang Mo. It was too difficult. Who would accept someone who started bullying you on the first day of high school and then suddenly became nice to you? I pulled Guahao and brought my friends to the bleachers of the playground. I put my arm around Guahao's shoulder and said to him, "Howsy, do you believe that everything you did to Fang Mo today, when you look back on it in the future, will be like a knife, hollowing out your heart? Can you imagine that feeling?" Guahao and the others looked blank. Guahao asked puzzledly why. I sighed and began to tell them about Fang Mo's past. 15 or 16-year-old kids are at the age where they are overflowing with sympathy. As long as they aren't born evil, no one can withstand that kind of knife. It cut Guahao and a few of the others to tears. Fang Mo is so miserable, a gambling father, a cheating mother, a tragic childhood, a broken home, Guahao said while crying. Bullshit. What love starts with the chime, and when the chime stops, the feeling is hard to quell. I said in annoyance. Guahao looked at me blankly. E.g., what does that mean? I waved my hand, accidentally revealing my reborn identity. Don't ask. You'll know what it means when you grow up. Now think about what you used to do to Fang Mo, and then think about how you should treat Fang Mo in the future. The friends all said that they would protect Fang Mo from now on. I curled my lips as if I needed them. On the way back to the classroom from the playground, Guahao came over and asked me, E.g., did you slap yourself this morning because you felt guilty for bullying Fang Mo? I nodded. Then how do you know about Fang Mo's past? I don't even know where her house is. She lives at school. I've never seen her go home. Guahao continued to ask. I felt a pang of sadness in my heart. How's he? Does Fang Mo even have a home? That one sentence silenced Guahao, and seeing that this guy was about to cry again, I quickly kicked him. Stop it. Guahao adjusted his mood and continued to ask me, E.g., you still haven't answered me. How do you know about her past? Could it be that you've fallen in love with her and investigated her? Guahao stumped me, love. It didn't seem like it. It was just guilt that made me want to kill myself. I would be willing to die for Fang Mo. Seeing that I didn't answer, this guy misunderstood. Damn, E.g., you have a heavy taste. Haven't you been captivated by Fang Mo's big breasts? You didn't see the male teachers at our school. When they pass our class, they all look towards the back of our class. I suddenly remembered that Fang Mo had committed suicide with resentment in my previous life. I just didn't know which beastly male teacher groped her chest. If I knew, I would kill him right now. Back in the classroom, Guahao saw Fang Mo sitting next to the trash can, and he felt bad. He went to the first row and pointed at Bai Ningbing's best friend, Yu Xiao. You move your desk to the back. Yu Xiao stood up angrily. She didn't dare to resist Guahao, so she could only ask Bai Ningbing for help. Bai Ningbing looked at me for help, but I ignored her completely. In my previous life, Bai Ningbing's secretary was hired by Yu Xiao. If you told me there was nothing going on between Yu Xiao and that secretary, I wouldn't believe it no matter what. Seeing that I was ignoring her, Bai Ningbing helplessly shook her head at Yu Xiao. Yu Xiao said angrily to Guahao, You wait, I'll be back. Then, she carried her desk and walked to the back row. Guahao ran up to Fang Mo like a lapdog. Sis-in-law, let me help you move. I embarrassedly covered my face. Fang Mo was stunned, sitting there and letting Guahao move her desk to the first row. As a result, Yu Xiao's male desk mate stood up and pointed at Fang Mo. I don't want to sit with her. She smells bad. Hearing these words, Fang Mo, who had just stood up in the back row, lowered her head again and sat down. Guahao got angry, and the friends who had heard about Fang Mo's tragic past at noon got angry too. Guahao flew up and kicked Yu Xiao's desk mate directly, sending him flying and landing next to the trash can. The friends swarmed up, showing off their strength in front of Fang Mo. Who are you calling smelly? Who can be smellier than your mouth? I'm telling you, if this was outside, I would knock your teeth out. I was scared. At 15 or 16, they wouldn't know how to control their strength, and if they accidentally killed someone, it would be a big problem. I rushed into the crowd and pulled everyone apart. Guahao even spat at Yu Xiao's desk mate. You're such a loser, you still want to sit at the same desk as sis-in-law. Are you crazy? You're not worthy. Then Guahao pointed at Yu Xiao. Go move his desk over here. Don't you like sitting together? You can sit next to the trash can. If you dare to complain to the teacher, I'll find someone to mess with you two outside of school. You hear me? Yu Xiao was so scared that she quickly moved her desk mate's desk over and then went to help him up. Fang Mo lowered her head and walked to the first row. Guahao followed behind Fang Mo, carrying her stool for her, providing top-notch service. After moving, Guahao waved at me. E.g. sis-in-law is here. You should move over here too. I said with a cold face. What are you shouting? What's sis-in-law? But in my heart, I was overjoyed. Asterisk, this kid knows how to handle things. Asterisk, Bai Ningbing watched me pick up my desk and leave and grab me. You're not really going to sit at the same desk as that big boob girl, are you? Aren't you afraid of being laughed at by others? I shook off her hand. Get lost. Who dares to laugh at me? Besides, big boob girl, you have to have them to be called that. I looked disdainfully at Bai Ningbing's fried eggs. Bai Ningbing was really angry this time and sobbed on the table. I didn't bother to pay attention to her and naturally put my desk next to Fang Mo's and then went to bring over the stool. Fang Mo moved to the side, trying to stay as far away from me as possible. I had a face full of black lines. To think that Jiang Yi, the handsome and dashing, the school heartthrob of City No, one high school, would actually be disliked by someone one day. During class, the class teacher, Old Wang, walked in. He looked at me, then looked at Fang Mo and disgustedly fanned the air in front of his nose. Fang Mo lowered her head, her mouth tightly pursed. I lost my temper, Mr. Wang, did you step in poop? No wonder you're fanning yourself. As soon as you came in, I smelled a bad smell too. After speaking, I turned around and asked Guahao, Howsy, did you smell it? Guahao nodded. I smelled it as soon as Mr. Wang came in. The poop-stepping official has arrived, truly immortal. My Lothkai's efut my years. Old Wang had never seen such a scene and angrily slammed the textbook on the podium. Shut up. All of you. What nonsense are you talking about? When did I step in shit? I chuckled to myself. He's falling into self-incrimination. I led my lackeys in a relentless barrage of jeering, finally driving Old Wang away in a fit of anger. I tried to take credit with Fang Mo, but she ignored me, making things awkward. I made up my mind. Old Wang had to go. It was one thing for him to target me, but if he dared to target Fang Mo, I would never let him off the hook. After school, since we were day students, Gua Hao and I walked home together. We all lived in the same residential complex. On the way home, I said to Gua Hao and the others, when you get home, tell your parents that Old Wang didn't teach us today for no reason and made us study by ourselves before leaving. Tomorrow, have your parents go to the school and get Old Wang replaced. Gua Hao and his friends looked at me in surprise. E.g., I never realized you were so devious. Isn't this wrong? Old Wang hasn't done anything wrong. Stop talking nonsense. There's no right or wrong in the adult world. He dared to target Fang Mo, so I have to get rid of him, understand? Gua Hao and the others nodded. Okay, E.g., we'll listen to you. When I got home, my dad was reading the newspaper on the sofa, and my mom was busy in the kitchen. Seeing my parents again filled me with emotion. Thinking about how heartbroken they were at my grave in the previous life, I felt a pang in my heart. I leaned over and hugged my dad. Dad, I missed you. Get lost. Let go of me. Go hug your mom. You're a grown man, taller than me. Still hugging like this, how disgusting. My dad pushed me away in disgust. I smacked my lips, and he seemed to have a point. I rushed into the kitchen and hugged my mom. My mom slapped me with the back of her hand, covering my face with flour. Get out of here, I thought you were still a kid. Stay out of the way and don't delay my cooking. Okay, so much for the warmth. There's no love in this family. During dinner, I told my dad about wanting to change teachers. My dad angrily slammed his chopsticks on the table. With your last place grades, does it even matter who you change to? You're saying the teacher is irresponsible for not teaching you and making you study by yourself. Would you even listen if he taught you? Would you even understand? My temper flared. Jiang Yi, don't look down on me. I'm telling you, if you give me a different teacher, I can definitely improve on the first semester final exam in high school. Want to bet on something? My dad laughed in amusement. What do you want to bet? You name the stakes, but get Old Wang replaced first. All right, I'll go to the school tomorrow and find your principal. Who do you want to be your new homeroom teacher? I pondered for a moment. Let's change it to the English teacher, Teacher Lee. Don't let the fact that she's a young teacher fool you. She's responsible. I had my own plans. Teacher Lee had only graduated a few years ago, so her experience wasn't abundant, but she was the only teacher who didn't dislike Fang Mo. She also lived at the school. I had seen her take Fang Mo to the cafeteria for dinner several times at night. All right, let's eat then, I promise. If you don't do well on the final exam, I'll settle the score with you later. I smiled and actively served my parents' food. Although old Jiang was fierce and decisive in the business world, he treated me exceptionally well. The next morning, old Wang was still scolding us from the podium. The principal pushed open the classroom door. "Mr. Wang, come out for a moment." Old Wang hurriedly scurried out. Seeing my dad and Guahao's parents beside the principal, I knew this was done. Sure enough, after a while, the principal walked into the classroom with Ms. Li, the English teacher. "Classmates, I have an announcement to make. Starting today, Ms. Li will be your homeroom teacher. Mr. Wang will no longer be teaching at our school due to a work transfer. Everyone, please welcome Ms. Li." I saw Fang Mo look up, and for a moment, there was a light in her eyes. I felt it was worth it, all the effort, mobilizing so many parents just for that glimmer in Fang Mo's eyes. Ms. Li was very responsible, treating all students equally. At first, Guahao and his buddies still caused trouble, but after I brought up that Fang Mo was a staunch supporter of Ms. Li, those guys stopped talking in class. During self-study, if anyone walked past our classroom talking loudly, Guahao would lead his crew out to give them a good kick. I really started studying. I tried hard to read, but just couldn't put pen to paper. I really didn't know how. I tried asking Fang Mo, but she ignored me. Bai Ningbing and I completely broke up. There wasn't much of a relationship to begin with. In my past life, we didn't start dating until our second year. Before that, we were just desk mates and friends. During a break one day, I stayed in the classroom wrestling with a problem when a classmate rushed in, panicked, e.g., "It's bad. Guahao and the others are fighting with the seniors." I was startled. That intense? Juniors fighting seniors? I quickly ran out with that classmate. The playground was crowded. When I rushed in, Guahao was grabbing a guy from the other side, still pummeling him in the face. The dean of students and several male teachers were trying to restrain them. Ms. Li was desperately pulling Guahao back, but the guy was like a madman. So many people couldn't hold him back. Several seniors were also pointing at Guahao and cursing, itching to jump in. I hurried over. "Howsy, are you crazy? What happened?" "E.g., these assholes are asking for it." Fang Mo was just walking normally, and that guy with the sideswept bang stopped her, called her big boob girl, and asked if she could walk steadily, if she needed him to help support her Mount Everest. After hearing what Guahao said, I frantically searched for Fang Mo. Seeing her standing with her head down behind Ms. Li, I breathed a sigh of relief. Thankfully, she was okay. I went crazy, looking around everywhere. My buddies asked me what I was looking at, but I didn't answer. I saw the microphone stand on the podium. In 3 steps and 2 strides, I ran up to the podium, grabbed the microphone stand, and charged down. I rushed to the senior with the sideswept bangs. At that moment, I only had one thought: kill him. Maybe my aura was too frightening. No one dared to stop me. The senior still tried to act tough. "Jiang Yi, I know you. Let me tell you, my older brother is." I swung the microphone stand at his head. "Even if your older brother is Lu Huaqiang, I'll still kill you today." He clutched his head and crouched down. I took the broken microphone stand and swung it wildly at his head. Wow, and my buddies tackled me. They saw that I really intended to kill the guy with the sideswept bangs and were terrified. That microphone stand was made of metal. I struggled to get up, but Guahao and the others held me down tight. Back in the classroom, the principal and the dean of students came in and started scolding us. Ms. Li interrupted the principal, who was still ranting. "Principal, I think that although Jiang Yi and Guahao's fighting was wrong, their starting point, protecting a classmate from being bullied, was good. I asked Fang Mo about the situation, and that senior was harassing her. I don't think they were wrong to protect their classmate. Their actions were just excessive." I almost cried. Choosing Ms. Li as our homeroom teacher was definitely the right choice. I also felt a bit embarrassed. Guahao was protecting a classmate, while mine was more like revenge. But I didn't regret it. Whoever dared to bully Fang Mo, I would kill them. After being challenged, the principal was clearly unhappy. The bootlicking dean of students started criticizing Ms. Li. "Ms. Li, watch your tone. This is a school, and fighting in school is wrong. regardless of the reason. Damn it. Before he could finish, I directly called my dad, old Jiang the tool man. Dad, I got into a fight at school. Come over. Gua Hao and the others understood and immediately pulled out their phones and started calling their parents. The principal looked at the bottom 10 students in the class and felt a headache coming on. Last time, it was these 10 who drove old Wang away. This time, who knew what kind of trouble they would cause. Soon, my dad and a group of parents arrived. The principal accompanied them to the office. We didn't go. There was no need for us to deal with it now that the adults were here. I asked Fang Mo, was I cool today? If anyone dares to bully you in the future, don't put up with it. I'll have your back. Fang Mo hesitated for a long time. You're the one who bullies me the most. She talked to me. After being reborn and coming back for so long, she finally talked to me. My spring had arrived. I couldn't help but laugh out loud. Fang Mo looked at me like I was a lunatic and muttered, crazy. Damn, she said 2 sentences. I was so happy. Fang Mo ignored me again, nervously shifting her stool away from me. With a giggling lunatic next to her, no one would dare to get close. I didn't care, still immersed in joy. Old Jiang stepping up was worth 2 people. After paying for medical expenses and nutritional supplements, I got a demerit, and everything was fine. Teacher Li's righteous words made her prestige in the class soar to unprecedented heights. She was determined to cherish every day of high school and study hard. Even Gua Hao and his gang started studying hard. I was stunned. I was struggling and hadn't even gotten started, and Gua Hao and them had already taken off. At this rate, I'd still be last place on the final exams. Ever since I helped Fang Mo fight, her attitude towards me had changed a bit. She didn't avoid me from afar like before, but she still didn't talk to me. If she didn't want to talk, she didn't want to talk. What pissed me off the most was that she actually talked to Gua Hao. That bastard Gua Hao would always bring his book to ask Fang Mo questions, and Fang Mo would always explain it to him softly and gently. I was dying of jealousy. During self-study, I spent 10 minutes on a math problem, and I still didn't understand what the problem was asking. Taking a chance, I poked Fang Mo. She was so startled, she almost curled up into a hedgehog. I shook my head helplessly. Sis, am I that scary? I just want to ask you a question. It took Fang Mo a while to calm down. She took the book, glanced at me several times, and finally couldn't help but ask, do you really want to study? I was about to explode from being cooped up all day. Did she think I was putting on a show? I nodded quickly. Study, of course I'm going to study. If I get last place again on the final exams, old Jiang will kill me. Fang Mo shook her head, indicating she didn't believe me. After all, Gua Hao had said I was permanently welded to the last place throne, and I was still living well. I rolled my eyes and tried to scare Fang Mo. Let me tell you, I'm the one who got rid of old Wang. I bet with old Jiang that as long as he could get Teacher Li to be our homeroom teacher, I would definitely improve on the final exams. If I still got last place, Teacher Li couldn't be our homeroom teacher anymore. Fang Mo panicked. She looked at me, and I nodded firmly. I didn't have any other skills. My greatest talent was believing my own lies. I mainly convinced myself, and if I could trick myself, then what I said was true. Fang Mo was taken in by me. She was even more anxious about my studies than I was, and she would ask me every day before school ended, is there anything you don't understand today? How could I let this opportunity pass? I wanted her to explain the day's lessons to me again. Listening to Fang Mo's soft voice, I was intoxicated. Fang Mo's intelligence and expressive abilities were definitely top-notch. Even though she didn't talk much, whenever she did, she could get straight to the point concisely. Under the guidance of the great god Fang, I slowly started to get the hang of it. Seeing me furiously writing every night, my parents were dumbfounded. My mom asked my dad uncertainly, do you think our son is really studying? This effort is a bit scary. Old Jiang nodded uncertainly. He should be studying, right? If he really puts in this much effort, maybe he can get second to last place on the final exams. I was going all out. Did they think I was aiming for second to last place? After 3 months of hard work, the final exams arrived as scheduled. Before the exam, I felt a little uneasy. I gathered Gua Hao and his gang together. Let me tell you, This exam is very important to me. You all have to turn in blank papers. You hear me? If I get last place again, Fang Mo will definitely ignore me in the future. Gua Hao and them looked at me awkwardly. Brother, we've also been studying for several months, and we also want to test ourselves with the final exams. You'll have plenty of opportunities to test yourselves in the future. Just turn in blank papers this time. How's he? Not bad. You even know how to use the word test. Ignoring their complaints, I confidently walked into the exam hall. With them holding me up at the bottom, there was no way I would get last place again. If I wasn't afraid that my parents wouldn't be able to handle the shock, I would threaten a few more people. After the exam, I knew I was solid. Besides English, there wasn't much else I didn't know. A few days later, the grades came out. I got 5th place in the class, and I was stunned. This trash like me actually managed to get 5th place in the class after 3 months of hard work. Did they all hear the news that if I didn't do well, Teacher Lee wouldn't be our homeroom teacher anymore and deliberately let me win? Guahao and them didn't keep their word and didn't turn in blank papers, but they still got easily crushed by me. I was overjoyed. I looked at Fang Mo with my report card. Fang Mo breathed a sigh of relief. Teacher Lee wouldn't be leaving. After Teacher Lee announced the grades, she praised me in Guahao in them, saying that we had improved a lot, so the demerit could be removed next year. I didn't take it to heart at all. However, Teacher Lee criticized Fang Mo, and she didn't show any mercy. Fang Mo was still 1st in the class, 10th in the grade, but her English was only 90 points, just barely passing. If her English could have reached 120 points, she would have been 1st in the grade. Teacher Lee criticized her harshly, and Fang Mo even cried. I felt sorry for her, but there was nothing I could do. It wasn't Teacher Lee's fault for scolding her. If she didn't open her mouth, how could her English improve? When school ended in the evening, I stopped Fang Mo. I asked her where she planned to go for the summer vacation. She said she wanted to get a job. I felt terrible. This silly girl, who would hire a minor. I said I was planning to ask Teacher Lee to tutor me in English during the vacation and asked if she wanted to join. Fang Mo shook her head and refused. I knew she would say that, so I didn't force her. She was my little princess. I had to cater to her. If I dared to force her, she would shrink back like a mimosa. I asked my dad to find Teacher Lee. At first, Teacher Lee didn't agree, but later, when she heard that if she came to tutor us, Fang Mo could stay at my house and study with me, Teacher Lee immediately agreed. She really cared about Fang Mo. She wanted Fang Mo to compete for 1st place in the grade. She wanted to talk to Fang Mo, but unexpectedly, Fang Mo, who had always obeyed Teacher Lee, firmly refused. It seemed I had to take action. I went to the school dormitory and asked Teacher Lee to help me call Fang Mo down. Fang Mo and I went to the playground. Sitting on the grass, Fang Mo sat next to me. I stared at her, and she lowered her head, not knowing what she was thinking. I asked her why she wasn't going to my house. She said she didn't want to owe anyone because she had nothing and couldn't repay them. That one sentence almost made me retreat into my shell. Can you please talk properly? You're stabbing me here. I said I knew her family situation. Fang Mo raised her head and looked at me in surprise. I started my real offensive. Fang Mo, I know what you're thinking, but I'll just ask you one question. Do you want to escape Guanyin Town, escape Jiangcheng, and go to a place you want to go to and live the life you want to live? Fang Mo was silent for a long time, then nodded firmly. I understand what the biggest wish of children with unhappy families is. They want to escape all their growing up tracks and start a new life in a place where no one knows them. Then you must come to my house and accept Teacher Lee's and our kindness. Only in this way can you improve your English and get into the university in the city you want to go to in the college entrance exam. What you need to accumulate now is the capital to soar into the sky, not that little bit of meager wealth. Even if there's a place for you to work, how much money can you earn? A shot straight to the heart. After a long while, Fang Mo lowered her head. It's too much trouble for you. I smiled and patted her head. Pay it back later. Fang Mo has nothing now but an incredibly strong sense of self-esteem. If I said it was troublesome, she would definitely think I was giving her charity. If I let her owe me first and repay me later, she would feel better, and I would have a reason to continue to get close to her. In the evening, I took Fang Mo home. She followed behind me like a punching bag. When my parents saw Fang Mo come in, they both stood up to greet her. My mother even grabbed Fang Mo and looked her up and down. This child is really beautiful, so clean. I gave my mother a helpless look. What kind of eye do you have? Clean is clean enough, but beautiful? Where did you see that? Is it her slumped shoulders and lowered head? Or her hair, which is even shorter than mine? The only thing she has is that protruding chest and buttocks, her most obvious feminine characteristics. My mother took Fang Mo to tidy up her room. When putting Fang Mo's luggage away, my mother cried. She stroked Fang Mo's back. This child has had such a hard life. These shoes and clothes are what we used to wear in our generation. Look, the linen clothes have faded from washing. How many times have they been washed? I roll my eyes. If you saw her eating 4 large steam buns with free soup every noon, you would probably cry to death. Thinking about it, I feel sorry for her too. She only eats 1 meal a day, so she has to stuff herself to death. Teacher Lee also occasionally takes Fang Mo to improve her life in the evening. After Fang Mo moved in, my parents discussed taking Fang Mo to buy some clothes tomorrow. I hurriedly interrupted. You two can take a break. If you don't want to scare her away, then just keep being nice to her. My father glared at me, but still reassured my mother. I know you feel sorry for this child, but children from poor families have stronger self-esteem than ordinary children, especially children like her with unhappy childhoods. Not every child is as thick-skinned as your son. We still have to proceed step by step. I turned around and left, going back to my room to sleep. I was so angry that I was sleepy. The next day, Teacher Lee came over early in the morning, saying that she had nothing to do during the summer vacation and wanted to tutor me and Fang Mo more. Tutoring began, and Teacher Lee was no longer gentle and soft-spoken as she was in class. I was fine. I did whatever Teacher Lee told me to do. Fang Mo was miserable. When she was asked to read, it was like a mosquito humming. Teacher Lee was so angry that she was about to hit her. I was anxious for Fang Mo. The third time Teacher Lee asked her to speak, her humming sound had just come out, and Teacher Lee couldn't bear it anymore. She slapped Fang Mo on the back, causing Fang Mo to fall forward. I quickly grabbed her. Unfortunately, my hand grabbed her right breast. I swear my big hand only grasped a small part of it. Fang Mo hurriedly pushed me away and sat up straight. Now I couldn't stand it anymore. It was too prominent from the side. Teacher Lee didn't see these small movements and pointed at Fang Mo angrily. I don't have time to read your lips. I haven't learned lip reading. Speak up. I couldn't help but laugh. Fang Mo lowered her head. The next time Teacher Lee asked her to read, she was about to hum when I put my hand down and squeezed it in front of her. Her voice immediately became louder. In this way, Fang Mo finally opened her mouth. We studied until 9 o'clock, and my mother brought breakfast, inviting us to eat. Fang Mo refused, saying she didn't have the habit of eating breakfast, but my mother still dragged her to the dining table. She drank a bowl of porridge and then didn't move. I stopped my mother from trying to persuade her to eat more with my eyes. For Fang Mo, being able to eat it all was already progress. After eating, we continued to study. Fang Mo's voice was completely open, and she read English so well. At 1 o'clock in the afternoon, lunch was ready. Fang Mo silently shoveled rice in her mouth. She ate whatever my mother gave her, never taking the initiative to pick up anything. After finishing a bowl of rice, she took the bowl to the kitchen. My mother followed in. I'll add more for you. How can I let you do it yourself? As a result, Fang Mo was washing the dishes, and she said to my mother with her head lowered, Auntie, I'm full. My mother asked me in a low voice, Are you really full? Some girls do have small appetites. I deliberately spoke loudly so that Fang Mo could hear. She has a small appetite? Have you forgotten what I told you yesterday? She can eat 4 steam buns as big as sea bowls with soup for lunch every day. Teacher Lee covered her mouth and laughed. Fang Mo's ears were red when she came out. I did it on purpose. I wanted her to know not to act shy in my house and to eat freely. Sure enough, in the evening, Fang Mo slowly started to pick up food herself, only picking up what was in front of her. My mother would pick up the rest for her. After finishing a bowl of rice, Fang Mo lowered her head. Auntie, I'll go get more rice. I was trying very hard to hold back my laughter. After dinner, the three of us took Fang Mo for a walk in the complex. Guahao and his friends were playing ball outside. They were surprised to see Fang Mo and all came over to gawk. Fang Mo greeted them proactively. Ever since Guahao and his friends stood up for Fang Mo and fought with the senior high students, Fang Mo and they had started to interact normally. I was green with envy at the time. When they learned that Fang Mo was staying at my house and Ms. Li was tutoring us, my friends were incredibly envious. They all said they wanted to join in on the tutoring sessions, but Guahao kicked each one of them away. Guahao gave me a knowing look, and I immediately raised an eyebrow. You're the best, buddy. Annoyingly, Bai Ningbing somehow found out about Ms. Li tutoring Fang Mo and me. The next morning, she showed up at our door with her school bag. My mom politely invited her in, since our families are close. I thought to myself, Mom, in my past life you slap her good. Then, during lunch, Bai Ningbing was incredibly rude at the table. Not only did she call Fang Mo big boobs, but she also recounted the times I bullied Fang Mo at school as if they were funny stories. As Fang Mo's head hung lower and lower, my mom's expression grew darker and darker. As soon as Bai Ningbing put down her bowl, my mom sternly said, Ningbing, go home this afternoon. Don't come back. You're not welcome here. Bai Ningbing was stunned. She said goodbye to my mom and ran out of our house crying. I was overjoyed and gave my mom a thumbs up. Mom, you have the best morals. My mom glanced at me expressionlessly and then returned to her room. She didn't come out all afternoon. I had a bad feeling. I didn't think much of it. Fang Mo seemed happy all afternoon because my mom had stood up for her. When my dad got home that evening, only the four of us were there. Ms. Li didn't eat dinner with us. Before dinner, my mom pulled my dad into the bedroom, and I don't know what she said. When they came out, my dad's face was like thunder. I tried to lighten the mood during dinner, but my parents didn't even look at me. After dinner, Fang Mo was getting ready to go for a walk like we did the previous night. My mom and dad sat on the sofa without moving. My mom called Fang Mo over to sit beside her and put her arm around her. My dad called me over, and I stood in front of him. When my dad pulled out his belt, I knew I was in trouble. I was familiar with that gesture. I've been beaten plenty of times in my past life when I misbehaved. I hadn't forgotten that feeling in this life. Just as I was about to run, my mom calmly said, Kneel. I obediently knelt down. My mom rarely showed her wrath, but when she did, my dad was like a mouse seeing a cat. I was even less of a match. Without a word, my dad started hitting me. I cried out and begged for mercy. While hitting me, my dad said, You think you're so great, making fun of someone's physical characteristics. You even led others in bullying Fang Mo. Do you feel good bullying someone weaker than you? My dad was so angry he was panting. I stopped howling. He was truly furious. I can tolerate you being useless. I can support you. But if you're bad, I'll squeeze the badness right out of you. I wanted to say it was so unfair. That was me in my past life. Why make the reform me pay the price? Paying for past life debts in this life. It never ends. Seeing how badly I was being beaten, Fang Mo quickly pleaded for me. Uncle, Auntie, Jiang, he hasn't bullied me recently. He's been very good to me. My mom pulled her down to sit. Don't interfere. He deserves this. Fine, I'll take it. Being disciplined like this in front of Fang Mo, I lost all face. My dad finally stopped after 20 minutes. Go back to your room and reflect on your actions. With no part of my body unscathed, I crawled back to my room. I couldn't lie down, so I just lay on my stomach on the bed. The door closed, and the three of them went out for a walk. I'm such a sucker. After paying for my past life, they don't even include me in the fun. In a daze, I felt someone touching my back. I turned my head with difficulty. Fang Mo was applying medicine to my wounds. As she applied the medicine, she softly asked, Does it hurt? I shook my head. I bullied you so much. I deserve that beating. I owed you that. Fang Mo stopped talking. After applying the medicine, she gently closed the door and returned to her room. My heart felt unusually warm. She was starting to care about me. Then I reconsidered. Actually, ever since Fang Mo began speaking to me, Even when she scolded me, I'd felt inexplicably happy. My behavior was pure simp energy. Could she be a high-tier angelic bitch girl, stringing me along? Probably not. Even if she was, I'd accept it, consider it repaying debts from my past life. After my dad finished beating me, Fang Mo grew increasingly close with my mom, gradually integrating into our family. This harmony was bought with my blood. Before school started, Teacherly began lesson preparations and stopped tutoring us. When Fang Mo tried to leave, Mom forbade it. She actually listened. Mom's words carry more weight than mine now. Mom took Fang Mo clothes shopping while I carry bags. She bought Fang Mo complete outfits from underwear to shoes. Whatever Mom said to her worked. Fang Mo didn't refuse anything. When Fang Mo appeared before me in a white fitted dress with a red hairband, I was stunned. She'd swept all her hair back, revealing her full face. Was this Fang Mo? She outshone by Ningbing completely, especially with her confident posture and figure. My heart skipped a beat. That bastard Guahao's sister-in-law greeting suddenly made sense. Even Dad was impressed. That night, I secretly asked Fang Mo what Mom told her. And he said I get bullied because I lack confidence. Women need self-assurance to be strong. Clothes are superficial but can enhance poise. True enough, after 2 months of Mom's influence, Fang Mo grew noticeably more confident. I nodded. You dare eat 3 bowls of rice now. No one can question your confidence. Fang Mo flushed crimson. The day before school started, Dad summoned us downstairs. In the living room, Mom gently asked Fang Mo, "We've known your background. Your uncle and I always wanted a daughter. Will you be ours?" Fang Mo wept. I've never felt loved before. Annie, I've secretly regarded you as my mother since you stood up for me against Bai Ningbing and beat Jiang Yi for bullying me. You've taught me womanhood and given me maternal warmth. Mom tearfully embraced her. Watching them sob together, I panicked. If they formalized this, where did that leave me? I object. Shut up. Fang Mo's your sister now. If she gets bullied again, remember last beating was just the standard. What if others bully her? That's exactly what I meant. You want to bully her yourself? Others mess with her. We're coming for you. Dad glared disdainfully. No justice in this house. Fuming, I rushed upstairs to Google if non-blood-related siblings can date and marry. Results said yes if no blood ties. Relieved, I exhaled. Thus Fang Mo officially became family. We attended school together daily, sharing desks. Gradually, she grew more dependent on me, indecisive yet perceptive and capable. Our group, including Guahao, walked home together. Everyone knew Fang Mo's background and treated her kindly. The teacher who assaulted her last life never appeared. Our large group provided protection. I considered using her as bait, but abandoned the idea, fearing danger. 3 high school years flew by. Having lived 2 lifetimes, I finally walked a normal student's path. Even Guahao's gang shed their delinquent airs. On college entrance exam day, Teacher Li and Mom flanked Fang Mo. Mom wore red cheongsam for good luck. Poor Dad got forced into a yellow mandarin jacket for instant success. Fang Mo and I doubled over laughing at Dad's awkwardness in the crowd. Teacher Li hugged Fang Mo, urging calm. I pointed at Dad. Seeing him kills our anxiety. More laughter ensued. Exams went smoothly. Exiting the test center, we flashed victory signs at our waiting trio. I planned post-exam travels with Fang Mo, but Dad intervened. Next day, he took her to Jiang Corporation. Fang Mo started interning there. During college applications, we both chose Beijing's top 985 university. Our scores sufficed. Guahao's group did well too. Leaving school, I sighed. Applications done. Now, can we travel? Fang Mo hesitated. Dad wants me interning this summer. Go alone, brother. Alone? Screw that. At dinner, I angrily confronted old Jiang. You're using Fang Mo as slave labor? The post-graduation summer is precious. Now that we're finally stress-free, shouldn't we enjoy ourselves? Old Jiang shot me a disdainful look. You worthless brat can wander wherever. I'm not stopping you, but my daughter won't idle around like you. Turning to Mom, He added, "You should see her business decisions, sharp as a knife. Natural management talent. I might retire after she graduates." I gaped. What about me? Aren't I excellent enough to inherit the company? Without Fang Mo guiding you, you'd still be a deadbeat fish, Dad scoffed. Don't even think about the company. Indignant, I retorted, keep this up and Jiang Corporation will become Fang Enterprise soon. Fang Mo frantically waved her hands. No, never. Dad silenced her. What I give Fang Mo is hers. Sons or daughters make no difference to me. As for the company name, that depends on your capabilities. Suddenly understanding, I glanced at Mom's knowing smile. With their support, now was the time to act. In our previous life, when Fang Mo first arrived, she'd worn faded clothes, a country bumpkin. Now, my Fang. Her face nearly dipped into the rice bowl as she softly acknowledged. Holy shit, she agreed. Ecstatic, I finally got my wish. Our family was truly complete now. No longer restrained after rebirth, I pestered Fang Mo daily after work. She allowed kisses and hugs, but refused further advances, claiming shyness at home. Then, after university, I teased. She murmured agreement. On move-in day, Dad drove us to Beijing. I desperately wanted them to leave so I could execute my plan, but Mom insisted on staying through our military training. Furious, I skipped dinner, finally surviving training. During lunch, Mom sternly warned Fang Mo, "Protect yourself. Don't indulge him." Dad pulled me aside. "I get it as a man, but if you knock her up, I'll break your legs." Impatient, I urged, "Got it. Just leave already." After their departure, I badgered Fang Mo. "Whose wife are you? Listen to me, not Mom." Terrified from 3 years of obedience, she relented that night. Next morning, Fang Mo wept. Panicking, I feared she'd call Mom. Jiang Yi violated me, which would get me suspended. Clutching me, she sobbed, "Brother, what if we end up like my parents?" When I saw Mom in her coffin at 15. Poor thing. I stroked her back. "Never. Know this. I lost you once on June 6th. Endured being crushed by a car, unimaginable pain, just for this chance. Every day with you is heaven's gift. How could I not cherish it?" Confused, she blinked. Not explaining rebirth, I cradled her face. "Remember, you're my most precious person. Even enduring that pain 10,000 times, I protect and love you forever. No one savors youth while understanding its value. But I can. I'll hold Fang Mo's hand eternally. She's worth every moment."